Hey, y'all. Welcome back to the Champagne Wives podcast. I'm your host, Kelly.
And I'm your co-host, Nicole. Hey, Kel.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
I'm okay.
Same. By the grace of God. Let's be real honest.
Let's just be real and let's just be honest. It's today is Monday and it's right after the time change. So it's spring forward. So we lost an hour.
I'm big mad.
So I have been off all day.
Yeah.
And I don't know why this always happens to me. And most of all, I don't know why I don't prepare for it because I know that this is going to happen every year. Every year. And I never prepare for it. It always catches me off guard.
Yeah. I resent this time of year every single year. I want my hour back.
Yes.
I love fall back. I feel like I'm not as late as I normally am when I have fall back, but
I appreciate the extra hour in the evening. I appreciate it, the more daylight, more sunlight. But it just takes me a while every year to get used to this change.
Yeah.
I don't know why. It completely throws me off.
Same. And then like today was like this week was a busy weekend, but then like today was just it's one thing to have like the Sunday of spring forward, but then that Monday, it's almost like it hits you even worse because it's like, okay, you got to wake up earlier for the workout. You got to get the kids out of the house a little earlier. So it's like frustrating. Anyway, we're here. I'm going to tell you, I'm out of sorts today. It's just, I'm out of sorts. I'm really out of sorts.
I love the honesty here.
Yeah, today's just a day. Like she texted, it was like, do we want to reschedule? The only word I could muster up was no.
No, not even a period, just N and an O. Like that was it. I said, okay, well, I guess I need to go get myself together.
Yeah, this is, we always talk about push through and we always talk about making sure that we show up for each other and, trying to do that here today.
Yeah.
So anything interesting happen over the weekend?
Let's see. Nothing interesting. I did go to just circle back to last week's episode about Michael B. Jordan and the What's Poppin' that we talked about. So I did go see Creed this weekend.
How was it?
Sunday. And it was good.
Was it?
Yeah. Okay. I don't think I've ever seen one of the other movies. I think this was my first time seeing.
So you started with 3?
I started with 3.
Okay.
Yeah. But I read somewhere online that like you can start with 3.
Okay.
So somebody said like even if you hadn't seen like the first or the second, like you could catch up or be caught up with 3.
Okay.
Something didn't make sense. Like I didn't know if he was just only Creed's son and not Felicia Rashad's son, and was he like he was born out of wedlock, he was a group home. I don't know. Like I got to catch up to figure this out because it came out in the episode in this movie actually that like I don't think the mom who played his mom was actually his mom because he was in a group home, and then I guess the dad found out that he had a child and then moved him in with like his wife and their family.
Girl, do not ruin it for everybody.
I don't know. I'm not gonna ruin it for people, but so that was something that
you have questions.
I have to fill the gap on, right? But other than that, like the storyline was really great, the acting was great. Like it was a really good movie.
Good.
Yeah. How about you?
Yeah, nothing. My kids are out of town, so
you enjoying a nice little break.
I had a nice little break. Went to the museum. That was fun. And just like woke up on Sunday and got my whole house in order, like put laundry away, just like indulged.
You just living your best life.
Even though my house got cleaned on Friday, it still felt like a war zone because it's just like there were things that I know that like needed to get done. Like I needed to season meat. I needed to like do stuff for my household.
Done, yeah.
So took Sunday morning and did that. And then, just they come back tomorrow and it'll be great.
So it's Women's History Month.
It is.
Have you done anything to acknowledge that, celebrate it? I think that our last 2 episodes have been very on time, and that was not planned, right. I will say. But I just feel like the last 2 things that we talked about, last 2 topics that we talked about, was just right on par for Women's History Month.
Yeah. I personally haven't done anything.
Okay.
But next week, somehow, some way, we don't talk about our jobs a lot, but I was asked to participate in a panel for my company. So I'm flying into our corporate headquarters to speak on this panel about authentic leadership.
Oh, Lord.
I'm like,
can we record, child?
Is somebody watching the podcast?
Right.
Because, like, how do they know about authenticity and me and all this stuff? So,
And to ask you to be on the
ask
panel.
me of all the people in this big old company. So we'll be taking some time next week to go and do that. And that's probably the extent to which I'm going to celebrate. I need to do something with my daughter, though. Like, we need to do something.
Yeah.
So I'll find something locally to do with her. Like, maybe we'll go and, like, go to the Children's Museum and see what they have going on, like, for Women's History Month. How about you?
That's a good idea, actually. We did we've been having presentations at the workplace, y'all. Remember I told y'all, like, my workplace is super sensitive when it comes to DE&I. And so we have been talking about Women's History Month since March 1st. And there have been presentations, poem presentations, which I love because I love learning about, you know, the trailblazing women who changed the course of history. And so from a work perspective, got my fill. But in a personal space, I have not done anything personally to celebrate. But I do like the idea of taking my daughter somewhere and, like, just maybe doing something fun.
Yeah,
so
I think that'd
we'll
be
see.
good. So speaking of women, yes, it's Women's History Month. And part of the reason why I just feel like I'm 3 sheets to the wind today is just because a bitch is tired. I mean, just tired. And today's episode is really about asking yourselves the question, sis, are you lazy or are you just burnt out?
Yeah.
Because I think as women, we want to take on everything. We want to do as much as we can to make sure that our children, our partners, whoever it is, right, are taken care of. And we do that. We would probably over-index and do that, and we leave nothing left for ourselves, and we're exhausted, we're irritable, we're restless, we're not getting enough sleep. Maybe we're not eating as much or eating as well.
I was about to say we're hungry.
Right, or we're really hungry and driving through the McDonald's drive-thru
to get some fries, Lord.
But I thought it would be good for us to just chit and chat about, you know, are we burnt out? Are we lazy? What is it? Or is it a combination of both? What's going on? Because I know I know for the last, I'll tell you, full transparency, since carry the 2020, latter part of 2020, coming out of the pandemic, not even. I'd say the beginning of 2020. I've just we've talked about this rut that I've been in. And I've just been in a deep, deep rut. And
we've been running, child, though. We've been running.
We've been running. Even though the pandemic was supposed to sit our black asses down.
We ran.
We ran it. The way we would text each other and be like, hey, what are you doing? Come on over. Pool's open. Bring the kids.
Let's go outside. Let's go catch this dinner. What were we doing? We've been running.
Catching COVID. Catching flights. Fuck. So,
taking tests, taking COVID tests.
After test.
On test.
I like how you say in the ponds. Come on,
you know what?
welcome to the island.
On me. I got you.
So, you know, it begs the question, right? Like, are we just tired from all of that activity, even though we were supposed to just sit our black asses down?
Yeah.
And
didn't happen.
It didn't happen.
That almost drove me crazy.
What?
To just be sitting down like that in COVID. I thought it was like just a dream come true, child. But that was crazy. That almost drove me insane.
Yeah.
So.
Same. And I'll tell you, I thought during the pandemic, it was going to be an opportunity for me to, and to a great extent it was, to refocus, recenter around my thoughts around family, spend more time with family, connect a lot more to my inner circle, you know, the folks in my village. That was the time in which you and I spent a lot of time together and you became very incorporated into my life and my village. But I felt like I almost lost my effing mind.
Yeah.
In 2020.
After we did all that, right?
Yeah.
After we did the work, we recentered ourselves. We found out what was important, took inventory, you know, did all the things that we were supposed to do. Yeah. You know, some people started businesses, got certificates, you know, all of that happened. But after that's done, then it was time.
It was time.
It was time.
And I remember in July, we'd been holed up since March. In July, I remember just sitting out in my backyard. And I said, oh, let me go get some tattoos. Bitch came back the next day with 7 tattoos on her body, child.
Oh, those are new?
One sitting. Boom, 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 boom.
Oh, this was after COVID?
This was in the midst of COVID. I got these things with a mask on.
Why has it not known
7 tattoos.
I have learned something new today, girl. I thought that
7
you had
tattoos,
been having those.
one sitting. No, I went into the pandemic with 4 tattoos. I came out of the pandemic with 11 total.
That's hilarious.
So, I know I was cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs during the pandemic. And then, like you said, took inventory, but thought that going outside in 2021 after, things had calmed down, and if you're into vaccines, great. If you're not, great. But I got vaccinated.
Yeah, me too.
And boosted.
Yeah.
So I thought, okay, coming out, like, I'm back outside, resuming some sense of normalcy. I'll be good. I wasn't. Yeah. I was still exhausted. I was still mentally drained. I had gotten a trainer, so I was working out. I was feeling good in those moments, but I was still feeling like shit, inside. Yeah. Wasn't feeling like I was showing up for my kids in the best way. And I had to take stock and take inventory. I was like, what's going on here?
What's going on, yeah.
Am I depressed? And the short answer was yes. So I got into therapy. And that was a great experience. Yeah. It was. But I realized, I wasn't paired with the right therapist.
That happens.
But in the therapeutic session, she was like, it's not that you're lazy. It's not that you don't have the energy, because you physically have the energy to wake up, go to work, make sure your kids are taken care of, work out. But you're probably burnt out. Yeah. So I was like, let's talk about what does burnt out look like. So I don't know. Did you have a similar experience?
I still struggle with that to this day, child. This is an ongoing discovery for me, because I do a lot. I know I do a lot. Yeah, I do. But sometimes I feel really guilty when I take those moments to just relax and be by myself. And just calm my brain down. You know what I mean? Yeah. I feel guilty at times when I do take those moments for myself. But I read an article. And so it's interesting that we're talking about this today, because I read an article that said millennials have more chronic illness than their parents. And that was alarming to me.
So chronic illness in the sense of back pain, neck pain.
Neck pain, you name it. Physical, it could be mental, right? Going to therapy more, more depression and anxiety, more chronic illness, again, back, arthritis, whatever the case may be, cancers, whatever the case may be. Millennials are suffering from chronic illness more than our parents did and the generations before them. And I think that is so in line with this conversation, because we're doing a lot. And even though we're doing a lot, I think the resources that we have, the products that we use, the food that we eat, is essentially killing us.
It is killing us.
It's killing us. And if you are not conscientious about, how you take care of yourself, the things that you ingest in your body, the things that you consume on TV or online, I think that does take a toll on your body, 1,000%. Mind, and soul.
1,000%.
Right? And so, but I also think as a generation, we're more vocal about it. We talk about mental health. We talk about, the things that are bothering us, our feelings. We go to the doctors, right? We are hyper aware of not only our physical, but our mental well-being, right? But I do think that this is the generation where things started to come at us a lot faster. Yeah. And I just can't even imagine what the next generation. I mean, we can already see it with what is this, Gen
I don't know, child. Are we in Gen A? Did we start
what
the
is
alphabet?
Gen X? I don't know. This next generation after us, girl.
I'm old. I'm Gen X.
Are you really?
I'm Gen X. I'm on the tail end of Gen X.
Almost
are you
Gen
Y.
X?
Yeah, I'm the last year Gen X.
Okay, so you're a millennial cusp. So
well,
this is
there's
Gen Z.
Gen Y after Gen. There's
After Gen Y.
Gen X, Y, Z, millennial. Yeah.
But then after millennial, it's not Gen Z? I think Gen Z is after millennial. I don't know. I digress. I don't know this. I don't know
2
this.
glasses in, child.
Right.
Don't ask me to quote
Like,
nothing.
all these sips. Okay, but so there is a difference, right? When you have so much coming at you. And I think now, our generation, we want to be all things.
Yeah.
It's the work hard, play hard. You can be all things. You can achieve all things, right?
Yeah.
You can be multifaceted. You don't have to just be a wife or a mom. You can be an entrepreneur, but you can also have a 9-to-5 job. And you can do all the things while still maintaining your body, maintaining your skin, maintaining your hair, and going to all the other appointments, maintaining your mental health. So we are doing a lot.
A lot.
We're doing a lot right now.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. And so I say all that to say that we are burnt out.
Yeah, for sure.
We're burnt out.
You know what? It's so funny that you say that because I remember in the beginning of the pandemic, the freedom that I felt to just, like, I went and put in some curly twists, right? Because I didn't know what was coming. I went on a little vacation before the pandemic and they shut the world down. Yes, I went to Southeast Asia. The question was, are we going to go or are we not going to go? And I said, we're going to go. I mean, it's a once-in-a-lifetime trip. We went to Thailand, Phuket. Like, yeah, we got to go. We'll wear masks and we'll do what we got to do. But yeah, went to the belly of the beast, put in these 2-strand twists, but then came back and was like the whole country was shut down. The whole world was shut down. But the amount of freedom that I had, my lashes just started to fall off. Not my real ones, but the extensions. Started to fall off. My nails grew out. And we, popped them all off. Hair was growing out beyond belief. Yeah. But felt so free to not be, this is my word, but like enslaved to myself, what I called self-care regimen, right? And I just kind of let all that go. Yeah. And it felt good because I should have been working out, but I wasn't working out. But I just felt like I could be. Yeah. And
did you realize how exhausting even the self-care routine is? Yes. Because let's run it down. We have hair. We have lashes. We had nails at the time. We work out. We have, what else? Therapy sessions.
The list goes on and on.
We have massages.
Yes.
And facials. And that's all great, but it's exhausting. You know what? I've always said getting my nails done, that's why my nails look like this, y'all, is the most stressful thing ever. What
do I tell you every week?
I know you're on these press-ons.
I know you're on these
press-ons. But that is so stressful to have to sit in that chair and have someone do your nails for like 2 hours. It's a lot. And that's when I had like the acrylic and the whole, you know what I mean? I needed to reclaim my time.
It's a lot.
And decided to go natural on these nails. Because it's a lot.
It is a lot.
It's a lot.
But I also think about me as a mom pivoting and how burnt out Nicole is a terrible mom. She's short. All she's trying to do is get these kids to do homework, tutoring, go to soccer practice, be fed, take a shower, go to bed. Yeah. Right? And the burnt out version of me is not a version that wants to spend all of this time with her kids. Yeah. And
you don't have the mental capacity. The energy.
I didn't have the energy. And I was feeling like beyond guilty about not having the energy for that. It's not that I didn't want to, it's just that like I was pouring from an empty cup and tapping into reserves that just didn't exist. Yeah. And I had to take stock and take inventory personally to see like what's important and like what's at the root of all of this. Yeah. And, have had to make some challenging decisions to try and make sure that at the end of the day, like I was put on this earth to do a couple of things. Be a mom to my kids is at the top of that list. Yeah. And so I had to take stock and take inventory to make sure that like I was showing up for my kids in the way that like my mom showed up for me in a more evolved way though, right? In a more present way. So that they're prepared to go into whatever version of society exists
Yeah.
when they turn 13, 14, 15
Yeah.
adults, you know, so that they can be contributing members to society.
Yeah. I think that is the most important. And I didn't mean to cut you off.
No,
You
not
have
at
a
all.
thought
No,
after
no,
that?
I don't.
Okay.
I was done.
Okay.
Thank God.
You're done? Okay.
Thank God you
I
came
saved
in
you. I
for
threw
the
a
rescue.
lifeline, child. Here you go. Got you. Throw you a life vest. But I think that is the most important thing. And on the second most important thing is that my daughter has a positive role model. And I want her to be able to see all the things that I am doing and admire that and aspire to. She doesn't have to do the exact same things as me.
Yeah.
But I want her to be proud
Yeah.
of the things that I'm doing and the things that I've done. And so
She will be.
To your point, thank you. I hope that's the prayer,
She
child.
will be.
Like, and that's the prayer. So no, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I'm just burnt out and I just, after a certain time at night, I'm done. Don't talk to me.
Shop's closed.
Shop is closed. I have nothing for nobody. Like, I don't have nothing for at a certain time at night. But that's why I'm very intentional about the quality of time that I do spend with my children when I do have an nth of energy child. Because, you know, it's hard. It's hard. It's hard doing all the things. It is. But I think for me and I think for us both is just how do we show up as the best version of ourselves for our children, which is the most important thing for us.
For sure. And to the moms out there, right? Like, we say this all the time in these chairs. Give yourself grace, okay? Give yourself a lot of grace. Because I remember being in my 30s, I pushed out 2 kids in the span of like 3 years. And it took my mind, body, and soul about 5 years to recover from the 3 years worth of pregnancy that I experienced. I only had 2 kids, but it took some time.
Yeah.
It took some time for me to recoup the energy that I had lost from making humans. It took time for me to recoup the energy that I lost from those sleepless nights and waking up and feeding these kids. And, you know, like, you never sleep the same once you have kids, right? Kids. Like, you're always sleeping with one eye open, listening for something. Like, you'll never have the best sleep of your life ever again. Like, you've had it. And I just had to remind myself that, like, you made 2 fucking humans, like amazing humans at that. Like, and your body has to recover. Your body has to rebalance itself. And it probably, I said 5, it was probably like a good 5-6 years to get back to where I was mentally. And then, you know, we got to a place of the pandy. And then that just completely flipped me on my head. Yeah. Completely flipped me on my head. But give yourself grace because to be a mom, to be a wife, to be an associate, a leader, an entrepreneur, like all of that takes energy. And you're never going to give 100% in every single one of those roles. But like, you got to give yourself grace. Yeah. And know that, like, as long as you're showing up, it's a win. Yeah. A win is a win.
Yeah, exactly. A win is a freaking win. And I should have looked up the definition of lazy because right now my mind is jogging, trying to balance the scales of this conversation because I do feel like some people are just not, some people are just
they
lazy,
are
child. Like, they are. And that's a real topic to discuss as well. But I think sometimes laziness can come from depression. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so I am very careful about labeling, calling people names because I understand that, sometimes the laziness can come from just being from a mental issue.
Yeah. I was depressed and lazy.
Exactly.
I was depressed and lazy. Yeah. I will tell you that. Yeah. Like, I was in bed. Like, there was not a reality TV show that you couldn't tell me about. Like, I was just lazy. Yeah. Because I was in a state of depression, and I didn't even realize I was in a state of depression. But in preparation for this, I did do a little bit of homework on, what are some of the symptoms and or signs of being burnt out. Okay. So, losing passion, losing energy or motivation for some of the things that, you used to be incredibly passionate about. feeling exhausted, but being incredibly restless to the point where you can't really like put yourself to bed and you can't like settle yourself at night. Anxiety is also a way in which, being burnt out shows up or manifests itself physically. Becoming highly irritable or easily irritable is another sign. Quick to boil, quick to burn, but boil. So picking fights with your partner, picking fights with your friends, isolating behavior, guilty. Going 0 dark 30, right? When you just retreat and go into your own hole. Yeah. Those are just some to name a few.
And I've displayed most, if not all of those at some point in my life. I mean, it's the truth. It's the truth. It happens. But you talk about like, okay, so just let's run it back because you talked about, the period in which you had kids and then you spent 5 years, you said, kind of bouncing back from birth and delivery, right? But there's something to be said about being on the other side of labor and delivery and having your kids be a little bit older, because I do feel there's a sense of reclaiming of who you are at this stage in age in life.
Yes. For sure.
And that's fun. It's really fun. And so I think that, as we kind of approach this new season of our lives, I think that the reason why there may be a little bit less of all of those symptoms that you displayed is because we are able now to get back to ourselves, who we were. Yeah. Who were Kelly and Nicole before they were wives, before they were moms. Our children will always be our focal point. But I don't think there's anything wrong with being selfish and taking a little time at all for ourselves as women.
Wholeheartedly.
And I think that kind of completes the circle of just not allowing yourself to be burnt out and really having that true self-care. And I know for me, like when we talk about people talk about self-care and throw that term around, it's just like, well, what actually is it? We talked about the nails, but I'm like, just like, that stresses me out. Right. So self-care for everybody is different, but it's different for everybody. Right. Some people may go to the nail salon and love it and love that quiet time and love people clipping their cuticles, child, and drilling their nail. Sorry.
Don't do it.
Sorry. That may be relaxing for a lot of people. Right. But what I've had to do is realize what is self-care for me. Yeah. And for me, it's quiet time. I love my quiet time. Yeah. I don't even necessarily, this. When I go to get my lashes done and I have that hour and a half to just kind of lay there, that stresses me out.
If Kelly could have her eyes opened during the lash appointment, she would.
I would. I can't. I lay there on my back with my eyes closed. Drives me fucking crazy. I can't do that. For some reason, it just drives me crazy. Right. But for me, self-care is just alone time. Yeah. Not being able to go in my room, close my door, and do whatever the hell it is that I want to do. If I want to lay on my bed, if I want to put on some mindless TV, I do that. Whatever the case may be.
That's you.
Just to clear my mind. That's self-care for me. Yeah. Right? And so I think every woman should find their definition of what self-care is and not get caught up in what others people's definition of self-care is, because it varies exactly for everyone.
Yeah, for sure. It varies for everyone. Like my version of self-care, full transparency, involves me putting on a swimsuit and just going and sitting in my backyard.
You love that.
Girl, putting on my Afro beats and blasting the music to the point where my neighbors get mad and having a cocktail and just sitting on my mommy ledge with the umbrella up is everything. Yeah. And it's even better when I have close friends with me, but if not, it's just me. Yeah. And that has been a place where I've had the highest of highs and the lowest of lows. But it grounds me. It makes me feel happy. It makes me feel like I'm taking care of myself. I am at peace when I'm near water. Yeah. It's the island girl in me. When I'm by and near or in water, I'm in heaven. I'm the one who's going to take a shower for 30
Not 30.
Water bill going to be gas bill gonna be through the roof. But like when I'm near water, I'm at peace.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, as we kind of wrap up this part of the conversation, I think about when we first met, and then I think about a conversation that we had a couple of weeks ago. When we first met, when we talked about the first episode, when we had our first episode in the bathroom of my house, one of the things we had said was like, I think I was 41 at the time. And you had said like, 40 where, like 41 where, like you're entering this era of just like, skin's popping, even though I've been putting a lot of makeup on because of these episodes, child, and my skin doesn't like me as much, but like skin's popping, body's popping, whatever, 40 where. And I was like, oh, great, yay, thanks. Yeah. But I will tell you, when you do shift from being in that like high caregiver mode and your kids do get a little bit older, you do realize like you can invest in the things that like time-wise, right, that like make you feel good about yourself.
Yeah.
And even now, right, like Kelly will always say, and this is the yin and yang for us, like I move and shake. Like I move fast. And Kelly...
Baby, you can catch me in my bed, snuggled under the covers.
Kelly moves, but doesn't move as fast. And so, like, I don't know what it is. And I maybe got to work on this because maybe it's just burnt out energy.
Because, first of all, I'm a control freak. And I don't want to do things over again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I'd rather do it right the first time so I don't have to circle back and do it again.
She hates me,
What I feel like movers do is they just act so fast that if they make a mistake, it's just like, you have to figure it out on the back end.
On the fly.
On the fly. I don't like that. I'd rather just control the mistakes. I'd rather not make a mistake. So I'm more methodical with my movement.
Where's the lesson?
But this is the yin and the yang. This is the yin and the yang. We just kind of play off of each other's strengths.
We do.
And it works.
Yeah. So, a good conversation around... Are you burnt out? I don't even want to put the part like, are you lazy? Because like every woman has a different struggle.
Yeah.
Has a different struggle. There are a lot of circumstances that I believe are at play that contribute to the mind frame that we have as women. It could be the age of your kids. It could be the dynamic that you have at work. It could be the dynamic that you have at home. Like I know for me personally, I had a lot of things going on at home that just weren't right, that weren't bringing out the best version of me. Many of things that I contributed to, but just many dynamic things that like I couldn't control. And so, I say that like to be burnt out is, my prayer is that for everyone who is burnt out or feeling like that it's situational, right? And that you have the ability to control the circumstances that that you find yourself within. For me, like part of what made me feel burnt out was the fact that like I was in a marriage where I wasn't happy, right? So I had to make a decision to leave that marriage. So that's where I am at this point in life, right? Where I'm choosing to do what's best for me, do what's best for my kid. What's the Chester cat smile coming out?
I just want to cry. I'm trying to stop from crying.
Oh, don't cry,
I'm so proud of you right now.
Don't cry.
I'm 3 glasses in.
You know me,
sometimes. I know. But just keep crying. I'm sorry.
Don't cry, because when you cry, I cry.
I know, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
But yeah, I had to do what's best for me, and more importantly, I had to do what's best for my kids. So I'm at a place right now where that's where my focus is, on my kids, my career, my passions, and my podcast. And our podcast, sorry. You know what
It's okay. I know what you mean.
So yeah, that's where we are. And I know that like the ring hasn't been on and all that stuff. So feel like it's important as we talk about like authenticity that's like in self-care. We've talked about this throughout the season. Felt like it was really important to do and to bring that to the table. I am happy. I am really happy. My kids are even happier because they have a happy mom, because I'm not feeling burnt out. I'm not feeling exhausted. The time that I do have with them is so meaningful. and so precious to me. And we love our time together. So yeah, that's the story. That's the story for me. And I'll stop there.
And I'll just say on this Women's History Month day that March, whatever today is. I don't know if I can know.
March the 13th.
I am so proud of you. And we've had this conversation, forever about when it will be revealed on the podcast. Yeah. And I just want to say that you've done such a classy job.
Thanks, babe.
Of being your true and authentic self and just exposing the most dearest, painful, hardest thing that you have been going through. And so I salute you.
Yeah.
And of course, I'm always here for you.
Yeah.
And I appreciate your level of vulnerability. So love you, boo.
And we do this and we have these conversations. And when you realize that the things in the conversations that you're talking about, do or don't apply to you, you got to take inventory. Yeah. You got to take stock. And so
it's real life, people.
It's real life.
Yeah.
And if you feel that you are in a dynamic that does not allow you to show up as the best version of yourself, you've got to do what you've got to do for you. And if you have kids, more importantly, you got to do what you got to do for your kids, so that you can be happy, and more importantly, they can be happy. Because if you're happy, they'll be great.
Exactly,
they'll be great.
Yep.
So. Let's transition to what's popping.
Let's transition to
heavily enough.
Okay, so what's popping is going to be a lot lighter.
Okay, thanks.
And more comical. Let's get back into the happy space.
Yes, we're here.
Okay, I'll go first.
Please.
Okay,
I forgot my what's popping after I dropped this bomb.
Exactly. Okay, so my what's popping is... So do you know the comedian Monique?
Yes.
So it was revealed a few years ago that Monique and her husband had an open relationship. Okay. And she was okay with it and he was okay with it. And she tried to explain it she and her husband were just open to the experience and that we were crazy for thinking it was sexual. So basically, she tries to make us feel like it wasn't just about sex, but it was just about the connection and the experience, right? He lets me know what he experiences and I'll let him know what I experience. So fast forward 2023, Monique is saying... It was about sex. So apparently she had a guy who she was dating before she married her husband, who she did not want to stop having sex with. And so she had a conversation with her husband to let him know that these were her feelings and that this is something that she wanted to continue to do to get his, approval. But in that approval, he said, well, if you are going to be doing this, then it's only fair that I am able to do it too.
What's good for the goose is good for the gander.
Absolutely. And I've had friends who have been in open relationships in the past. And I can tell you from just my experience with them, it did not turn out well.
Yeah.
For the exact reason why Monique is in the news right now. Because fast forward to 2023.
Yeah.
And Ms. Monique says she's at a different point in her life and she does not want to have an open relationship anymore.
Okay.
So not sure if her husband is on board or not. However, when you open Pandora's box, is it fair to want to close it even if your partner who agreed to go along this journey with you is not ready?
So she entered into this marriage.
Yeah, it was her idea.
With the whole open...
Yes.
Okay.
It was her idea. Is it fair?
Okay. So these are two very different scenarios. If you enter into a marriage knowing that there's going to be an open element to your union, and then all of a sudden you decide that you want to change it.
Yeah.
That to me feels very bait and switch. I completely understand why you'd want to do it.
Yeah.
Right? But it's a bait and switch.
Yeah.
Now, if you're in a marriage and you're now having conversations about going or opening up your marriage, that's a different story.
Yeah.
But if you enter into the union with the understanding that this is going to be an open marriage,
right,
and then you want to close it,
it's hard.
It's hard.
It's hard.
Don't start no stuff, won't be no stuff.
Even the latter, right? Even people that I know in my personal experience.
Yeah, you're right.
Who have gotten married under the guise of monogamy, and then later on decided that they wanted to open their marriage. Well, in this particular situation that I'm talking about is a guy.
Yeah.
So a guy wanted to open his marriage while his wife is pregnant, having the children, going through the years of suffering, the suffrage movement. Happy Women's History Month. He decided he wanted to open the marriage. Well, when sis had her kids and bounced back and, started to live her own life and make good on the open marriage promise, he wanted to close it. But sis was just like, no. Yeah. Like, I'm enjoying this arrangement. The arrangement that you initiated, right? So is it fair that one partner wants to close it at any given point of the marriage who initially opened it?
It's tricky.
It's tricky.
That's the only thing I can say is that it's tricky. So I'm not here for the open marriage.
I'm not.
Like, I'm way too possessive. I'm a Taurus, y'all. Yeah. Like, I'm way too possessive. Like, I just,
girl,
what's mine is mine.
Yeah.
And what's mine is mine. Like, and
what's his is mine.
Right.
That's the level of possession.
Right. So I just, like, I would never walk into a marriage wanting community dizzle.
Yeah.
I would want, like, VIP exclusive status.
Yeah.
And I want my situation to be exclusive and VIP as well. So I'm not the one to ask that question of, like, I have had people that I've known who, like, own what are those clubs? Swinging clubs. And like, you go and you're like, the memberships, and you go and you watch people have sex and stuff like that. I'm just like, I think there was a part in my life where I was like, oh, I wonder what that would be like. But then I think about it, I'm like, normally these are not people that I would want to watch.
Want to watch anyway. Girl, they're the rejects.
They're moving bellies out of the way and stuff.
Watch you some porn, child. You porn is fine.
What'd you say?
You porn. Get your needs met, child. Like, you have to watch it in person.
That Pornhub? You porn?
I don't know. I'm not big on porn, child. Don't get me started. Like, I'm not.
I told you I'm separated. We're gonna cut this part
I'm not a porn connoisseur. Anyway,
so for me, it would be a no. It'd be a no. Like, that wouldn't even be introduced into the conversation because I just I'm way too greedy. I'm way too possessive. Like, I'm showing up to a relationship and wanting to be the corn star.
Yeah,
like in your life. So no.
I agree with you. And I'll also say this, like, what's the point, child? Like, if you want to do that, just be single. I mean, to me, that's having your cake and eat it too.
Yeah.
And that's not what the vows are for. Like, you know what I mean? And I know a lot of people, maybe I'm not mature in this space enough, child.
No, I think you're very mature, actually.
I just feel like you make a decision to go into a marriage, which is a huge commitment. I get it. Then you are forsaking all others. That is a part of your vows to the Lord and to your family and your friends. And so I just feel to make the conscientious decision to say, okay, I'm going to marry you, but I still want to, have relations with him, and her. I just think that it just doesn't make
hours
sense.
And hours.
Hours and just be single.
Yeah.
Just be single. That's my take on that.
Or just consider just long-term commitment. Long-term commitment, right? Just like be committed, but don't get married.
Okay, so that's another topic of discussion. So if you're a long-term committed, then that means you can open up your long-term commitment.
I'm just saying, if we're talking
you're not talking about vows.
Right.
Exactly.
Right.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
Okay. Something about my what's poppin'. There were a couple. One is really messy.
Oh. What is it?
I don't know. It's about Kevin Samuels. So I think this is like the anniversary of his death.
Here we go, child.
It's the anniversary of his death.
I know. Somebody posted something. Was it like his estate?
The legacy continues. Is what they posted.
Does it?
And
I guess it does. If we're sitting here talking about a child.
The question was, are y'all tuning in? But I don't like to talk about a person and their death. So I don't want to welcome that energy into this space. So I'll just go into the people with dry phones and that are lonely. What are you doing right now? This made me giggle. But I can't stand the internet because it just, you lose what you're going to talk about. So, because if you save it, you can't go into the comments. But this was the other one that I had. Blueface. Blueface allegedly is expecting a child with Krishan Rock. But he said that men can have sex with thousands of women and not be viewed as negative, right? Not be viewed as gross.
Yeah.
But a woman who decides that she wants to have a similar amount of partners, that lowers her stock, right? And then he acknowledges that a double standard does exist between men and women. And he said, you know, women, like, you don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. You can literally make your way to Dubai without even, like, giving your cat away, because it's the illusion of, like, what
could potentially happen.
Could potentially take place. Exactly. So do you believe in the double standard? Do you?
Yeah, I believe that a double standard exists. And
should it?
No, it shouldn't. Tamar Braxton just actually had this conversation on, I think, the Breakfast Club, and she said that she met a guy, because she is divorced and she's in on the dating scene. And she said she met a guy who confessed that he had slept with over 1,000 women.
Gross.
And she was just so grossed out by the fact that he had slept with 1,000 women. And she decided that, you know, that wasn't something that she wanted to pursue going forward. So I feel like, yes, it's a double standard, but at the same time, women who have standards are still not going to accept the fact that just because you're a man, you know, you can go out, you go out and sleep with, like, hundreds and hundreds of women. Like, I don't subscribe to that. I think a woman who has any standards and, you know, self-respect and decency still won't mess with a man who has slept with, like, a whole bunch of women.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't. Like, there's no level of curiosity around that.
Girl.
In my mind, I'm just afraid about what could potentially be spread.
Yeah.
Like,
what's the point?
1,000 men? Like, you've slept with 1,000 women?
In numbers. Just think about that. They were saying, just in numbers. Think of how many people that is.
That's a lot of cootie cat. That's a lot of cootie cat.
It's good, but it ain't that different, child.
But that also, to me, sounds like sex addiction.
That could possibly be a sex addiction.
Very Trey Songz.
Addiction, child.
Which was
Trey Songz.
It was that was another What's Poppin' that I wanted to bring up.
What's wrong with Trey Songz, child?
That he is the next R. Kelly. Just give it 10 years.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I hope not.
No, they said that he creep level on 1,000. Like, he
creep
engaged.
Level?
Yeah, so it's not underage girls as much. In some cases, potentially, but not as crazy as R. Kelly, not like as intentional as R. Kelly.
Yeah.
But creep level is on 1,000 with Trey Songz.
Yeah.
So they said, yeah, give it 10 years. You might not even need 10 years, but, like, give it a little bit of time. Like, there's going to be a surviving Trey Songz.
Well, I feel where there's smoke, there's fire, and there has been, like, a lot of little comments coming out for a long time on this man, and I don't know why. You know, it's the culture that it takes so long for women to be believed when they talk about sexual misconduct with a man, particularly a famous and rich man.
Yeah.
It takes a very long time for there to be belief and then ultimately justice.
Yeah.
I will say, though, sometimes, you know, not everybody is a Me Too movement. I will say that. And I think that there's a fine line between sexual misconduct and someone who was consensual and then got mad and wanted to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Punish or hurt or whatever an individual. And I believe that happens as well.
Yeah.
I'm a middle of the road person type of person. But with him, I do believe where there's smoke, there's fire. And there have been a lot of women, even including Keke Palmer, who I love, who is so unproblematic.
Yeah.
That I'm just like, if she's saying something must be up. But these men, they're just, you know, and I think, again, it's hard to draw a line between the women that I just described who just kind of go along with it, whatever, and then the women who have those standards and have those boundaries, who's not willing to just accept whatever sexual advances that you're giving them because of who you are. Right. And I think men, have a very hard time distinguishing between the two, and that's how they get themselves caught up in a whole lot of trouble.
Real quick.
Yeah. I feel like the conversations for our sons, like, I think that's the conversations to be had with our children.
Oh,
as
absolutely.
Well. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Because a woman can start being okay with whatever it is that's happening.
Yeah.
Right? And feel comfortable, and then all of a sudden realize, no,
I don't want to do this.
I don't want to do it. It doesn't feel right.
Stop.
Or like, I don't want this to be a part of my story. And they say, stop, to your point. And at that point, no means no. Ain't no convincing.
None.
Ain't no convincing that's happening to try and change the mind.
Her mind.
If she says no, it's no. And
if you've wined her, dined her, paid for an expensive suite, all the things, and it seems like she's on board, the minute she says stop.
It's a wrap. It's a wrap.
That's it.
So, we'll see what happens. I know I've learned like 5 what's poppins in this little section. But we'll see what happens with this whole Trey Songz thing, because it's interesting. People who used to hang around him don't hang around with him anymore. Chris Brown completely cut ties, and they're both from VA. 50 Cent, he said stuff like, I don't hang around him because he don't know how to handle himself when he's around women, right? There are award shows where he's been on camera and has announced award winners. And he had a creepy moment where he was like, because I always get behind, a female. And there was a female that was co-announcing with him, and he got behind her. It was whispering in her ear. It's all on camera. It's just big creep factor.
It's
high creep factor. And it's just conversations we need to make sure that we have with our boys.
With our boys, absolutely.
That shit don't happen.
Yeah, that
no means no.
Cut it. There's thousands of women out there. Find another one.
For our baby boys.
Find another one.
For our baby boys, it won't be hard to come.
It won't. That's why I gotta have conversations with these ninjas early. Because what we're not doing is that I'm not walking into
a courtroom in a trench coat with black sunglasses on with my hair blowing in the wind.
Better than this, baby.
I'm not doing that.
No, we're not.
I mean, I will be by your side, but I'd rather not have to be by your side for that.
We're not dealing with that kind of bullshit.
Okay, so that's the episode. You are not lazy, sis. You are just burnt out. Make sure you are pouring into yourself.
Absolutely.
You are identifying what self-care looks like for you. Don't get caught up in what it looks like on the internets, because what looks like self-care for one might not be self-care for you. Tap into what that is. Make sure you're there for yourself. If you have kids, make sure you're there for those babies and you're showing up as the best version of yourself, and move away from things that prevent you from showing up as the best version of yourself. Friends, family, whatever the case may be. So if they want to follow us, Kels, where can they find us?
Follow us on IG at Champagne Wives Podcast, and on TikTok at Champagne Wives
_podcast.
You can tell who the social. All I know is IG, and that's all that matters.
Right, that's all that matters.
That's all that matters.
Watch the videos, y'all. Love that.
Not only watch, subscribe to our videos, please, y'all.
Because there's content. Lots of content. Y'all love the last episode. I was really surprised to see the numbers. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. People love the conversation that we had last week.
Tell a friend to tell a friend.
Yes, absolutely. And we're gonna keep bringing content like this to y'all every single week until we wrap this up this season. So thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And we will see y'all next week.
Same time, same place. Bye, y'all.